Hey there, this is Daniel Fosco. I'm the senior product designer on the release group at GitLab, and today I'm going to do a walkthrough of some compliance features for our heuristic UX scorecard requested by Austin. More specifically, the goal here is to create audit deliverables. So for quick context, I'm going to go through the job statement, the persona and scenario for this. Then I'm going to complete the scenario as well as I can, wearing the hat of this persona. And later on, I'm going to come back with the final evaluation based on what I found. So the job statement for this scorecard is: when I am preparing for an audit, I want to create shareable deliverables so that I can provide evidence of compliance. That makes sense because the persona is a compliance manager, and taking a deeper look at it, some of these jobs to be done make it easier to understand what it is. So I need to be able to provide our internal compliance teams with evidence artifacts that help my company maintain a positive compliance posture. So as far as I understand, there are many compliance processes that need to be followed, and the work of software developers and other people in the software development lifecycle impact the compliance, or maybe they add risks to their compliance evaluations, and it is my job as compliance manager to gather the evidence that our teams are being compliant, and if they are not, then also gather that evidence to be acted on. I won't read all of this, but the link will be available as well, and I've read it before. So let's look at the scenario. There is an upcoming audit for SOX that you are responsible for passing. As it relates to your self-managed instance of GitLab, you need to create artifacts that can be shared with the auditor you'll be meeting with at the end of the quarter. So I need to create the artifacts, and at some point these artifacts will be shared. For this audit, they will be looking for a few things. 1. Users that have been added and removed to relevant projects and their permissions. 2. Any failure to maintain separation of duties, and if there are, what were they? Alright, so we're looking for 2 things. SOX is a framework for compliance requirements meant to protect investors from fraudulent accounting activities by corporations. Yes, so essentially it's a framework of requirements for compliance regarding investments, the investors of a company. All right, that's enough context. So let's get started. Let me refresh this just to make sure it's working. Yeah, it's working fine. So I am the compliance manager, and I need to gather this evidence. Okay, so starting here on the GitLab homepage, I'll be taking a few screenshots along the way, so don't mind this little window popping up. Looking at here, I don't really have on the scenario anything that tells me which projects within the GitLab installation will be used. I'm also assuming I'm a new user, so I might be a compliance manager already, but this might be the first time that I'm looking at GitLab or working on compliance within GitLab. So I don't really know where to look for, but I have an initial hint here with this SOX badge on these 2 projects. That is really helpful because without any other context, I know the task I'm doing is SOX related, so I know these are likely what I need to look at, but we'll know more later on. So let's open each one of them one at a time. Let's start with this GitLab test. Take this little guy out of the way. Alright, so it's taking a little bit to load, but looking at the sidebar here, most likely what I want is security and compliance. Now there's quite a few things here. It could be the security dashboard, maybe vulnerability report. But since we are looking for auditing, from the description in the scenario, audit events is what seems to make more sense to me, considering I'm not used to this interface at all and these features. And it is true, I'm not used to them even as a GitLab designer. So I am a new user in this. So project audit events, track important events in your project. What are project audit events? Sure, let's take a look here. A user with a maintainer role or above can retrieve project audit events of all users. So I understand that is pretty much a log of things that users have done or actions that have been taken on top of users on GitLab. So assigning permissions, creating projects, deleting issues, that kind of thing. A user with a developer role is limited to project audit events based on their individual actions. Okay. To view a project's audit events, go to the project. On left sidebar, select Security and Compliance Audit Events. Oh yeah, see, there's this huge list of events that relate to the users. And then going back to the scenario, I can see the first thing we want to know is users that have been added or removed to relevant projects and their permissions. So I assume, yeah, see, this is one of the events. So I think I'm in the right place. All right, so let's see what the search gives me here. Member events. So I guess here I'm filtering by member of the project. Yeah, there's no records for Yvonne, but I assume that's... So the only filter I have here within this search bar is member events. Since we want this for all the users, I suppose I don't need to filter here. So what I want to do is, let me see, last created. Right, this is fine as far as tracking goes, but then how do I export them? Yeah, I'm an administrator, so whatever options are available, I'm assuming I should have them all. Let's see, maybe the vulnerability report is another name for the exportable parts. No, don't think that's the case. All right, so let's get into one of these objects. Oh, this broke. Okay, I think this might be the test environment, but let's see here, author. Yeah, it just takes me to the user. All right. I mean, that's odd. It is good that I have access to all of these events, but then if it is my job to report these, I should have a way to export them, right? For usage elsewhere. So let's go back to this quick documentation and see if I can export these. Project events can also be accessed by API. Okay, I don't think I have API knowledge as a compliance manager. Let's see here if export to CSV. All right. Export to CSV allow customers to export the current filter view of your audit events as a CSV files. That is likely what I need. Okay. Let me just screenshot this. So this view is actually useful to show what happened, but then if a big part of my job is relaying this information to a third party that's not on GitLab, then not having the export options visible here causes quite a bit of confusion. And you see here, menu, admin, monitoring audit events. It is, in my opinion, pretty hidden. Let me get this out of the way. Bye. Okay. So menu, admin, and then we go to a new tab. Then what was it again? Monitoring audit events. Monitoring audit events. Aha. So this is pretty much the same view as the other one, but with export permissions. Yeah, it's interesting why this option is here and not there, likely due to security reasons. But if I have the permission to export this, why isn't the option visible here for me? I don't know. Maybe there's probably a good reason for it, but it's interesting to note. All right, so here I see there's a filter by project, because I remember typehead.js. Yes, it's one of the SOX projects. The other is GitLab test. So yeah, I assume here on the admin area is a more global view of everything that's in the instance rather than a project level view, as opposed to the other screen I was on. Then let me see, where's the objects from GitLab test. Here's some of them. Yeah, it's interesting here that it says object. From my perspective as a GitLab user, I have a fairly good understanding of, we have the instance and then we have groups, and then inside the groups we have projects, right? But then here I can see some projects, so my expectation was to scroll all the way up and see project here, but it says object, which is not super intuitive for me. I suppose root is maybe the instance itself, like the root level, so everything is on the root, and then there's an organization, a group, sorry, GitLab org, and then the projects inside of here. But then what's Ellen and project one bot? Is it not part of GitLab org? It's not very clear. Here's Twitter / type ahead. Is Twitter a group here? Sorry for all the tab switching. Yeah, Twitter is a group. Okay, yeah. So I would bet that Ellen is also a group. No, it's a user. Oh well, then I have no idea. Never mind. Let's move on, because I'm going on a tangent here. All right. So let me export the stuff that I need. Okay. Action. Can I choose the action? Oh, okay. Project events. So since we have those two projects marked as SOX, I am assuming those are the ones that need to be shared for the SOX audit. So I'm gonna go forward and look for the GitLab task one. Okay, wait. Why did it fail? I didn't submit anything yet. GitLab test. Oh, there you go. And then search. All right, this month, let me see if there's any filtering here in terms of time frame. Upcoming audit for SOX. You need to create artifacts that can be shared with the auditor you'll be meeting with at the end of the quarter. So I don't know how far back I should export these artifacts. I perhaps could assume that it's about this quarter we're at, Q3, but I'm not sure. So what I think I'll try to do is just get all of the ones from this year. I would say that's as comprehensive as it makes sense. So from January 1st to, oh wait, this is pretty confusing. I can choose from January, but then okay, it's limited per month. All right, got it. So this month, are there any on previous months? So July, no, right? So I'm thinking for the purposes of this scenario, yeah, it's only this month, so that's what I'm gonna do. With that said, I think this UI is really useful and really well done, but it kind of looks like things are disabled here. So I know this one is selected, but since everything is grayed out, especially if I come here and all right, it's even more grayed out, but it is a little bit confusing. And yeah, it's not entirely clear what options I have here. Also selecting the month, like why is it, why are there a bunch of them disabled? Maybe I'm not getting the logic of this date picker, but that's a detail. Let's go back to August, which we are at, and then get the whole month. All right. And I'm in the wrong page. Let me just close that one. Yeah. So yeah, this month. Okay. Yeah, that's an easier way to get back to it. So export as CSV, max 100,000 events. Okay, I got it. So if I open it up, where is this gonna open on my computer? Numbers, no. Let me close that. Yeah, this is not necessarily part of the exercise, but you know, I just exported the thing, so I want to see what it looks like if the data is all there. So I'm gonna import into Drive just so I can, you know, take a look at my CSV that I just got. There you go. I think this is it. Yeah. All right, import data. All right, Google Sheets already organize this for me, which is very convenient. Yes, so I can see here entity path. This is, you know, the project that I exported on from. Then there's author name, target type, and then action. Change access level from developer to maintainer, created project access token, added branch, removed branch, added user, removed user access, change compliance framework from none to SOX. So I'm not sure this is what I needed from the scenario, since it said users have been added and removed to relevant projects and their permissions. So I'm assuming I exported more than I needed. Let me close these tabs, they're not so relevant anymore. Added protected branch, removed protected branch, added user access. So I assume this is relevant to what was asked here. Added and removed relevant projects and their permissions. Right, so adding users, removing users, and changing user permissions. It's one thing that I need. So I would say this is relevant, this is relevant, this is relevant, this it's maybe relevant. I don't think it is, but I'm not sure. So out of all of these, I assume that I know exactly what information I need to relay. So let me just highlight these. This one, this one, this one. Change access level from developer to maintainer. Yeah, I think this one as well. Creating project access token. Adding protected branch, removing protected branch, and changing compliance framework. I don't think these fall under the definition that is here of users that have been added and removed to relevant projects and their permissions. Which is interesting because as a compliance manager, it is my job to report audit events, but not all of them, only the relevant ones, right? So here I'm given the option to, let me see, can I filter by anything else? Project events. So I'm given the option to filter by project events and date, which of course is useful and relevant, but I think this is kind of broken. Yeah. Yeah, so see, the user events is filtering by events on the users themselves, group events on the group, and project events on the project. I chose project events to filter by the SOX ones, that the ones that were marked as SOX, right? Which, as far as I understood, is the scope of what I should be reporting. But then there's no way for me to further drill down on what is needed here. So, you know, I had to go into this sheet and then maybe delete these, you know, because they are not relevant. Delete rows. Delete this. I'm assuming changing the compliance framework to SOX is what triggered this little badge. That is very, very convenient. So that was nice, nice touch. It also is a deep purple that streams on your face. This is SOX, so that's also nice. It's hard to miss. So these are the 4 that I need, but again, I needed to use a spreadsheet to, you know, work this out. I couldn't filter on the UI itself. All right, so I think for this project, I'm good for task 1. Let's go and filter by Twitter. Turn off. What was the name again? Type ahead. Yeah. So type ahead. Yeah. Twitter/type ahead JS. This is it. Right. There's a lot more here. So let's export as CSV, and I assume I'll have to do the same thing, right? So I'm gonna create a new spreadsheet and then import my CSV file. Oh no, get out of here, numbers. Upload, select the file. All right, yeah, this is the latest one. All right. So again, I will just interpret which ones are relevant here. So removed the AST profile, added the AST profile. This may be a term that's very familiar for compliance managers, but I don't know that. Maybe GitLab specific term. So let's go to the GitLab documentation and look for the AST. Because again, I may even know what it is on my context, but within the context of the GitLab application, it may be something else. All right. Dynamic application security testing. Right. So I'm assuming this is the kinds of security tests that run on merge requests. Review apps. Yeah, so see here, it's within the GitLab CI pipeline. Okay, yeah, so I think it's fair to assume that a compliance manager knows what this acronym means, even though they don't necessarily know it within GitLab if they are a new user. All right, let's go back to the spreadsheet. So I don't think this is relevant again for adding, removing, or changing user permissions. So I'm just gonna jump past these. Revoke project access, also no. Change compliance framework, same as the one before. Changed, prevent merge request approval from reviewers from true to false. Right, so let me just go back here. Relevant projects and their permissions. Again, this doesn't concern directly to user permissions or adding or removing users, so I don't think it should be part of this ask that is being made. Added user access as reporter. Yes, this is it. Removed user access. Add user access as guest. Change project access token with token ID 3 with scopes. Again, this is around API tokens, so I don't think it's around users. And you see here, target type user. That, yeah, looking at this column, I think would have made my life easier. Let's go back to the other spreadsheet. Yeah, see, these are all target type user. Okay, that realizing that earlier would have saved me some time. But I guess it would be nice to be able to filter by user here, because again, this target type user, and let's see here, project, DAST profile, scanner profile, personal asset access token, that is not really visible here, is it? No, it's not. I mean, there's some similar fields, but not that one. So I can't filter by this target type, and in fact I don't even have access to the target type. So I assume in a real life scenario like the one I'm running right now, working with spreadsheets would be necessary to really sift through and separate the data that I need for my report. But I got it, so I will, for now, delete these and all the ones I don't need, and just really have the user related entries. Okay, I think we can close this documentation. So this one is type ahead JS. Yeah. So let's call it audit SOX audit report type ahead.js. Let's have the full path just for clarity, and then exactly as it is. Okay. And then here we're gonna have SOX audit report GitLab org/GitLab test. All right. The scenario doesn't make it clear in which format these should be made available. I assume I would export this back to CSV or some kind of JSON file or something like that. But I would assume that depends a lot on the format and the process of whatever company and security department you're working on. So for now, I'll just keep these as spreadsheets and move on. The second ask is for me to create an artifact that can be shared with the auditor for any failure to maintain separation of duties, and if there are, what were they? Okay, that's interesting, because separation of duties, in my perspective, is essentially developers taking actions that they shouldn't have, right? In terms of permissions. Or not only developers, but any role taking actions from a protected role, something involving security, something involving production environments that they shouldn't have. So that would be a failure to maintain separation of duties. So I have to look that up. And then let's take a quick look here and type ahead.js. So we can see here John Doe 21 is changing prevent merge request approval from reviewers to true, and then prevent merge request approval from authors from true to false, right? So that's reduction of safety, if I understand correctly, right? Because now you are allowing merge request authors to approve their own merge requests, because now this is kind of confusing copy. Oh, sorry. Prevent merge request approval from authors. Yeah, so it is no longer prevented. Authors can approve merge request. And then here, similarly, prevent merge request approval from reviewers to false. So reviewers now can merge requests. This is a bit of a word salad for me. Then moving up here, change compliance framework from SOX to none, which might be fine. If from none to SOX, sorry. If this is a security concern, but then should this user be doing that? Revoke project access token, added the AST scanner profile. So looking at an overview, it's hard for me to say which one of these might be violations of any security or compliance concerns, because I don't really know who John Doe is, especially with that name. But let's look at their user profile and see, are they an admin? Ooh, this isn't working. Are they an admin? What kind of user access they have? Added user access as reporter. So let's, you know what? Let's look for users here. Overview users. Okay. Let's see if we can find John Doe here, because what I'm thinking is we need to know which kinds of permissions John Doe has. If they have the right permissions, then I assume none of these would be violation, but if they don't, then it could be. But I can't really load the users page right now. Okay. Since I have two different informations to relay, I will user let's call this user permissions and changes, and here potential compliance violations. All right, so I'm gonna import again the CSV, because now I need a different cut of the information. Yes, data. Oh no, I don't want to create a spreadsheet. Replace current sheet. Yes, okay. So it's the same data as this other page, but I am filtering by something else. Okay. So let's see here. John Doe. Gotta do a little bit of spreadsheet mangling here. Okay, so August 4, 853. Okay, so this is the oldest one. This is the first one, right? Compliance management, compliance framework, change compliance framework from none to SOX. Okay, that seems like not any kind of violation. And the author is the administrator, so that makes sense. So you know, there's some other actions here: added user access as guest, removed user access, all of that. And then here we have John Doe. So John Doe added Amanda Legros as reporter. Okay. And then unassigned project compliance framework. So this is a bit tricky because it says by administrator right here. So by administrator, but the action was done by John Doe, which is the author here. So it's kind of tricky because I wasn't able to open their user page, but I'm assuming they are not an administrator. Otherwise, that would be the author name. So this may be a violation as they are unassigning the compliance framework, and that seems like a no-no. And then again, moving on here, there's different merge request approval rules that are being changed, right? So this allows reviewers to this is really confusing for me because there's too many words here. So what I'm gonna do is just search the GitLab docs for this exact phrase and see what comes up. Project audit events. Event merge request approval. not really explaining what's happening. Edit merge request approval settings. Right. So here it says, it reads, prevent merge request approval from reviewers. There's also authors down here, but let's look at reviewers first. Prevent approval by author. When enabled, the author of a merge request cannot approve it. Okay. Is there a reviewer here somewhere? No, there's not. So maybe it's not documented, maybe it's elsewhere, but I'll go ahead and assume it's the same thing. So prevent approval by author means the author of a merge request cannot approve it. So prevent approval by reviewers probably means that reviewers cannot automatically approve DMR. Since I can't really find a reference to reviewer here, reviewers, eligible approvers. Yeah. So I'll assume it works the same way. So if we go back to our sheet, so prevent merge request approval from reviewers, it was changed to true. So reviewers do not automatically can approve it, which is not a bad thing, I would say, in terms of security, because you're heightening security, you're making approvals harder. But then here it was changed from true to false. So now reviewers can approve merge requests. And then here, now authors can approve their own merge requests. I guess that's a problem. I would say both of these are problems. The reviewers I'm not sure of, but the author is definitely a problem, because then you're just saying that I can create a merge request and then approve it myself, which is not very safe. And then here the compliance framework was changed to SOX again, which it is interesting because I'm assuming these two are opposite actions, right? Because here the compliance framework was changed by the administrator from none to SOX. And then here it was again changed from none to SOX. So I assume that at some point in between, the compliance framework was changed from SOX to none. And I think this is that action, but it's worded differently and it doesn't mention SOX. So that's odd and perhaps less than ideal. All right, the next actions by John Doe. So personal access token, revoke project access token with token ID 3 by administrator. Yeah, it's hard to read these because I am assuming these are being taken by John Doe that somehow got this administrator access. I don't know how. I don't see here John Doe being listed as administrator. I can see this user being added access as reporter. I don't know if that's a violation. But since John Doe is changing the compliance framework and a lot of these other things that seem fishy, to be honest, I would say that messing with the security scanner settings could be a bad thing. So I will just mark all of these as violations. I can be wrong, but considering it is my job to make sure the company is compliant, I would err on the side of caution, right? So if something looks uncompliant, my reflex would be to go ahead and report it, and if it's not a problem, then it's not a problem. But if it is a problem and it slips through, then that can be worse. So let me just go ahead and do the same thing. All the ones that I don't think are compliance violations, I will clean up here. Added user access as reported. You know what? I'm gonna add this here as well. Less from the the action itself, but at this point more because John Doe is changing lots of security settings that I don't think they should be. So adding a user as reporter with this by administrator, I still don't understand what it means exactly. It could mean that the user John Doe is doing this with administrator privileges, but if that's the case, at least from the list of events, I don't see when they got this access, so it's unclear for me. All right, so this is one of them, right? Because it's for the 2 SOX projects. So I'm gonna do the same and rename this user permissions and changes, and then add a second one that will be called potential compliance violations. Okay, and I'm gonna import the previous CSV. So this one was 632, 637. So this is the older one. So replace current sheet. All right. Okay, so here, let me organize it chronologically again. So 4 of August, 8:52. Yeah, this is the earliest one. All right. So here we see the administrator changing compliance framework to SOX. That's fine. And adding this user as a maintainer. Then by administrator, does this mean through the admin interface? Oh, does it mean that the admin user is impersonating the other user to the admin? I'm not sure. Let's move on. This doesn't seem to be a breach of separation of duties. Just removing user access, adding user access as reporter, which is not high privilege, so I assume that's okay. Remove protected branch. Added protected branch. That is interesting because this user Jesse Greenfelder is a reporter, right? If we go here, reporter role. No, I just wanted a definition of the reporter role, you know? Group GitLab permissions guide. Oh, I guess that's what I wanted. Reporter. Permission dependencies of secure features. Dependency information, license compliance page. Yeah, this is kind of tricky. I would assume that in my job as a compliance manager, a big part of it is understanding what is allowed and what is not, right? What is being done with the right permissions and what is not. So for that sense, understanding permissions is an important part of my job, right? Because someone doing an action can be completely fine if they have the right permissions, but if they don't, then it's wrong. I would assume GitLab as an application does not let you do something that your permission doesn't allow. But even so, I have to understand the permissions and what they do, and that's pretty hard to find here in the documentation. See, no access, minimal access, and guest, reporter, developer, maintainer, owner. Okay, so I'm assuming the reporter should not have access to remove the protected branch. If we review it here again, Jesse Greenfelder was added as a maintainer. Oh, okay. No, wait. Yeah. Yvonne was added as a reporter. Okay. Yeah. So if Jesse is removing the protected branch and adding a protected branch, and she is a maintainer, that's higher than a developer. Yeah. So the maintainer is the owner of the project. It's the person who has the highest permission in the project, if I understand correctly. So this seems to be correct if it's done by Jesse. Personal access token, created project access token. Again, Jesse is a maintainer, so they are responsible for the project. So it makes sense that they create a project access token. And then at last, Jesse changed John Doe 2 from developer to maintainer with expiry remaining unchanged at never expires. Okay, so John Doe 2 is being made into a maintainer in a way that will not expire. I guess that is fine, because sure, you can be a maintainer of a project forever, right? As long as you're at the company and you have that permission, that is okay. I am not aware of any security rules that says that maintainer permissions have to expire. I know that's an option, but as far as I know, it's not mandatory. Let's just come back to this one for a quick check. Yeah, this John Doe is not just this John Doe, so yeah, unrelated. So I would say none of these in this list are potential compliance violations. So I will just remove all of them. Alright, so we have none here. Okay, back to the scorecard. Okay, so stepping out of the scenario and out of the persona as closing notes, I think I have completed everything I have to do. The scenario does not describe how I should create these artifacts. It says create artifacts, so I assume these are the CSV files that I exported. However, they didn't seem to have exactly the information that was needed. So I'm gonna go ahead and export this as CSV. So download CSV. Then yeah, this is empty. Is this showing Finder? I'm gonna go ahead and open the CSV directly, just to see if this is large. Yeah, so it only has one of the tables, the user permissions and changes. All right, so this is what I need. I have one of the artifacts created. Yeah, this one has no compliance violations as far as I know, so there's nothing to export here. This one has these user permissions, so let's go ahead and download these as well as CSV. And these are the potential compliance violations on this project, so I will also export these ones. All right, so I have all of these. I will attach them in the issue. I will assume Austin is my where is it? My auditor. So Austin, here you go. Interesting. How do I attach this in a comment? Yeah, there you go. As part of my UX scorecard / heuristic evaluation, here's the exported artifacts containing users that have been added and removed, and any failure. I'm adding this still within the perspective of the scenario as, hey, this is how I would share these. Maybe there would be a specific way within the process of auditing, but hey, here are the artifacts. So I will consider this scenario finalized and closed. As next steps, I'm going to review this video myself in a while, and the screenshots as well, to do a grading rubric and a measurement of this UX scorecard, and I will attach those notes at the end of this video as well. It's gotten a bit long, but if you're still here, thanks for watching and have a great day.